First, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello, I'm Greg Nibler. This is Fox 12 Now. Thanks for joining us. We're live here from the digital desk at the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom, and really do appreciate all of you joining us. So we get to have some great conversations on here, and today we're talking about something specific. If you are a fan of Oregon wildlife, of the wilderness, of all of that, you do know that there is some poaching that goes on. So I know that's kind of a weird transition there, but it is something that we're all well aware of. And there actually are units, K9 units specifically, that are now being set up to help control that issue. You know what? I'm going to bring on our guest here, who is the expert at all of this, as I fumble around through that. You know, Tim, we appreciate you being here from the Oregon Wildlife Foundation. Thanks so much for coming on to talk about this. I know there's specifically a big event that's going to be going on this weekend, but can you tell us about what this is?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to do that. You raised the issue. There's poaching in Oregon. Across the United States is a problem. It's a big problem, and in Oregon it certainly is as well. And we need all the tools we can get to mitigate poaching issues. And one of those tools that was relatively recently developed was the use of K9s in poaching investigations. And the reason K9s can be a really important tool is that they have a scenting ability that's 1,000 to 10,000 times greater than ours. So as you can imagine, that comes in handy if you're trying to find a game carcass, a spent rifle cartridge, a poacher, even a lost hunter or others. A dog can come in handy and really help with that. So way back in 2018, we started working with Captain Jeff Samuels on development of a program. He's since retired. OSP was very interested in getting something going and joining some of the other states that we have on the West Coast that already had programs. And Oregon was looking to start their first one. And so we got together and talked about how that might happen. Oregon Wildlife Foundation put up the capital to purchase the dog. The kennel send the trooper and the dog to K9 school in Indiana in the dead of winter. And they came back, graduated in the spring of 2019. That was Senior Trooper Josh Walcott and Buck, who was a yellow lab. And they were deployed immediately into the field in the spring of 2019, have worked really the whole time here, logging hundreds of hours in the field, many different poaching investigations. They have found lost people in the woods. They have recovered evidence that's led to the conviction of people responsible for taking wildlife illegally in the state. So it's been a very successful program. And as a consequence, the leadership at OSP decided, hey, if one team is good, two teams is going to be better. So they reapproached us and said, can you help us put another one together? And we did. So this past spring, Trooper Shay Ross and Scout graduated from the K9 school in Indiana and are now deployed in Central Oregon, working out of the Bend office.
What are some of the common, I guess, types of poaching that occur here in Oregon?
It really runs the gamut. I think a lot of people think of, the deer or the elk. I mean, oftentimes we'll see, press reports where Oregon State Police and Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife are looking for tips and help with poaching. And you typically you think about large animals, but poaching is a lot of different wildlife and fish as well. I mean, which happens all the time. Boone and Crockett did some research and determined that somewhere between 1% and 3% of wildlife crime is actually detected, which means that there's a huge amount of wildlife crime that's going on. A lot of wildlife that's being taken or otherwise damaged through, if you will, juvenile activities or actions. That's going on all the time, and it's a real issue and a real problem in Oregon and other places too. So it really does vary. I will tell you that in 2021, Oregon State Police was able to recover some aspect of 234 animals that were taken illegally. That included a bighorn sheep, a cougar, four pronghorn antelope, bobcats, bear, wolves. The most animals were deer, 115, and then elk were followed with that, with 94 that were taken illegally, out of season, using somebody else's tag. There's a lot of different, ways these things happen. But at the end of the day, what's happening is that that activity is doing real damage to wildlife in the state of Oregon. And it's damaging the future of that wildlife, but it's also taking from you and me, because in North America, wildlife belongs to all of us. It's a public good, and we need to be able to protect that public good as much as we can.
You mentioned, I think that what you just said was 1 to 3% is actually found out, which, I mean, it's got to be so incredibly difficult to really track that down. That's some vast wilderness. So with these dogs, and I know you talked about it a little bit, but with these canine units, how do they actually, help maybe bring up that percentage point?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they're another tool in the toolbox that Oregon State Police, which is, has a interagency agreement with Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. Basically, and Oregon's different in this way. Oregon and Alaska are the only two states in the United States that don't employ game wardens. So most fish and wildlife departments do, and in Oregon and Alaska, they actually work with their state police offices to do wildlife law enforcement. But basically, what it comes down to is dogs become another tool in the toolkit that the state police can use to both collect evidence, actually investigate, at least prospectively investigate active poaching happening, discover people who are hiding, discover ammunition, spent ammunition that could be used to help build a case against someone who's suspected of poaching. It's the whole gamut of things. And the other really fascinating thing I think about wildlife canines is they can be trained to sense certain things. And so, in the case of the K9s associated with Oregon, they're focused on trying to find wildlife that's been stashed, and or carcasses, and spent cartridges. So they're trained, their scenting ability is really attuned to find those things. But they're also, in other places, canines, because of their incredible noses, can be trained to find even specific species of shellfish and fish. And it's just sort of a fascinating thing. And it's well beyond your ability and my ability. I mean, we're not going to be able to do that, but they can find those kinds of things at a distance. And some folks that come out, if they come to the hatchery tomorrow, Saturday, there'll be a demonstration. If it's the typical demonstration that I've seen, they'll put a spent cartridge somewhere, within maybe 100 feet or 100 yards of where the dog is, without the dog's knowledge, and then they'll utilize the dog to go find that spent cartridge somewhere in the grass or in the brush. It's incredible what they're able to do.
That's crazy. Yeah, that they're able to find that and be attuned to that. I mean, that's amazing. Tell us a little bit more about this event going on out there, because people do get a chance to come out and see this.
Yeah, so we're asking people to show up at 10 o'clock or after. The dog teams will be there starting at 10 o'clock, and they'll need to go back to their home offices, sometime after 1 p.m. We'll have a couple of different demos, so one at 11 o'clock and one at 1 p.m. If you want to target your arrival around those times, that makes some sense. We will have information on the wildlife conservation canine teams available for people who are interested. We'll have some stickers, and then we did put together, kind of an activity sheet for younger people who might be attending. The dogs are wonderful. They're so good natured. They're both labs, a golden and a black lab, and they're easy to be around. The troopers are fantastic about being able to answer questions about wildlife crimes in Oregon, what the dogs do, what they're capable of doing, which is really amazing, and happy to answer people's questions. So we're excited to have them out there tomorrow, and we hope people will come out and see them.
I know one of the questions that somebody's going to be asking right now is, can you pet the dogs?
The answer is yes. That is absolutely allowable, and if there's any problem, the troopers will let people know. But the dogs are super friendly, and they love the attention, frankly. So.
Nice. Well, that sounds amazing, and I think it's really, really fascinating that this is what they're doing and able to help out with that, because clearly, as you mentioned, the wildlife belongs to all of us, and there's a million reasons why that needs to be protected, and that's great that we have another, as you said, another tool in the tool belt there to help out with that. Tim, anything else you want to let people know about?
No, I hope people will take the opportunity to come out and learn more about this issue. I would direct them, if they're interested in having more information about the Stop Poaching campaign, to visit Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife's website. It's an easy search. The way that the public can help with this, though, I will just add, is that as we talked about, the detection rate of wildlife crimes is very, very small, and so it really does take everybody contributing. And so if you see anything that seems suspicious, or or if that people are taking animals outside the season or in contravention against the rules, there's a tip line that you can call. And there's also an email address as well. All that information can be found on the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife's website.
Fantastic. Tim, thanks so much for being here with us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
All right, so really, really interesting way there to counteract poaching. And thanks everybody for tuning in to Fox 12 Now. Again, I'm Greg Nibler. We're live here every weekday at 1 p.m. Pacific. We have a lot of interviews and videos and things that you can watch, and all of that is at our YouTube channel. So that's Fox 12 Oregon. Go under the live section. You can see all the different things that we've even covered this week. It's all over the place, and that's one of the great things about this show is we can do that. So if you have something that you think would be a great topic, or maybe you want a deeper dive on one of the news stories that we've covered, we can do that. We can get the reporter on here. We can talk about some more of the details, or maybe you have something that you think would make for a great segment. Let me know that. You can send me an email, fox12now@kptv.com. That's fox12now@kptv.com, and send that in. But for now, I'm going to sign off. Thanks for watching. I'm Greg Nibler. This is Fox 12 Now.